youngest daughter, Minnie Cooper. It's a stick though. She doesn't know how to drive a stick. So I'm driving it down. She goes to Florida State. So I'm driving it down next week. And
Welcome to the 2023 Judicial Campaign Forum. My name is Lisa McPherson. I'm the Executive Director of the Cincinnati Bar Association. I'd like to start by thanking our judicial candidates for participating today. And I'd also like to thank our forum partners, the Cincinnati Association, the League of Women Voters, the Metropolitan Area Religious Coalition of Cincinnati, the Urban League, and the Women's City Club. Our shared mission is to help build a strong community and educate voters, and this forum is a step toward that goal. In this election cycle, there are 7 judicial seats open in Hamilton County Municipal Court. While each seat is elected by district, seated judges handle cases countywide. Those cases include misdemeanor criminal cases and traffic charges, as well as civil cases with disputes under $15,000. Now, as we begin our dialogue, let me introduce our moderator, John J. Williams. John has spent his entire legal career in Cincinnati. He is a past president of the Cincinnati Bar Association and is Associate General Counsel for First Group America. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, as Lisa said, I want to thank all the candidates for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. This is something the bar has been doing for a few years, and we believe it's our way of giving back to the community. So thanks for participating in that. We're going to just kind of roll into it. You know, everyone's pretty collegial here. We're going to start with self-introductions. I'm going to start with who wants to start? Bernie. Everyone elects Bernie to start. All right.
we get a Bernie's.
Bernie, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm Judge Bernie Bouchard, and I am representing the 6th district, which is basically Green Township, Coleraine, and Cheviot. I've lived there my whole life. Grew up in Westwood, and now I'm in Green Township, been there my whole life. And been a lawyer for 28 years. 22 of those in a judicial capacity, 5 as a magistrate, and 17 as a judge. And I can honestly say I've never felt like I've had to go to work one day in my life, you know, coming downtown to the job I have, whether it be this one or as an assistant prosecutor. Just good, clean fun every day. I really enjoy it. So I'm very lucky that somehow I found the right avenue for me. You know, I do this job because I want to keep the community safe. And also you're in a tremendous position to help people that need help. You know, a lot of people we see are there because of drugs and alcohol. And so get them the treatment they need to make them better citizens. You know, out of those 28 years as an assistant prosecutor and a judge, you know, I've been in court every day. So I kind of figured out I've done over like 200,000 cases probably in my judicial career. And I think that's, you know, very beneficial for everybody involved. You know, people start a sentence and I can finish it, or, you know, at this point, you know, a lot of things recycle through, right? So, you know, we see cases that, you know, that we could be there, like for traffic speeding tickets, you know, all the way up to when somebody runs a traffic light and kills somebody. So we have a wide range of criminal cases we see. And, you know, just think my years as a prosecutor and my life experience really helps me be a good judge. I run my courtroom efficiently, and that's about it.
All right. Thank you for that. Next, we're going to go to Judge Brad Greenberg. You're welcome. And by the way, I forgot to say this, not that Judge Bouchard went over, but 3 minutes to introduce yourselves. Yeah.
I'm Brad Greenberg, and I've been a lawyer for 30 years, and been a judge for the last 17 years. I'm in District 5, which is Northeast Hamilton County, Loveland, Blue Ash, Montgomery, Indian Hill, Sims Township, Sycamore Township, et cetera. Prior to being a judge for 17 years, I was in the prosecutor's office for about 12 years. And I was a division chief in that office and handled a lot of very serious cases as an assistant prosecutor, a lot of homicide cases and violent crimes. I've been the administrative and presiding judge for municipal court for 2 years. Also, the last 7 years, I've been the presiding judge for Municipal Veterans Treatment Court, which I don't know if I'll have a chance to talk about that tonight, so I want to just put a plug in for Veterans Treatment Court. It's a treatment court for United States veterans. It's certified and overseen by the Ohio Supreme Court. And what we do is try to address the issues, the underlying issues that veterans have that cause them to have contact with the criminal justice system. And we try to get them help, often through the VA, to try to bring them back to be productive citizens and get better. It's been a real significant part of my of being a judge, getting to do that the last 7 years. I do that every Thursday. Like Judge Bouchard, I really enjoy being a judge. It's one thing I've learned over the last 12 years is that every case is important, and it's important to whether it's the person that's standing before you or the victim. Every case is a significant case to that person, and I try to treat every case as an important case. So I appreciate the honor of being a judge, and I am running for election because I want to continue to work in this capacity to protect the community and to be fair to everyone that comes before me.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Samantha Silverstein.
Thank you. I am Samantha Silverstein, and I am running for municipal court in District 4. I'm currently, I should start by saying I've been a lawyer for a decade, and I'm currently a law professor at the University of Cincinnati College of Law, and I am the training director at the Hamilton County Public Defender's Office. And before that, I was the supervisor of the Domestic Violence Legal Clinic at Legal Aid and represented children in education matters and low-income people in housing matters. And I'm running for municipal court because in my experience in the Hamilton County Municipal Court, I know we can do better to solve the root issues of the problems of the people that come before municipal court. If people in Hamilton County they're most likely to end up in our municipal court, and our municipal court is where the hard problems in our community that don't have easy solutions, drug addiction, homelessness, mental health issues, that's where those problems oftentimes end up, and we can focus on solving those issues better by providing what I'm calling smart justice. So I have a smart justice plan, and my smart justice plan includes more specialty dockets. As a judge, I would advocate to have a domestic violence docket where people could be connected to services through that they need so often in those cases, so that they have the stability to leave those relationships and they're able to prosecute and see that through, and they need early interventions. And in order to do that, we need a specialty docket. Additionally, we need to revamp our technology. Our technology in Hamilton County and our courthouse is from the 90s, and we need better technology to make our courthouse more accessible for all and to save taxpayer money. So I am asking the voters in District 4 to elect me because of my smart justice plan, but also because of my values. I was raised in Iowa and moved here when my family moved here to Anderson, and spent a lot of time in Iowa with my grandparents. And my grandfather was a Jewish American soldier who liberated concentration camps. And my grandmother was a social worker for 25 years at the Department of Family and Child Services. And they had this long kitchen table that I talk about a lot out on the campaign trail, but that kitchen table always had a spot for anyone, and they could find what they needed there. If it was a laugh, a warm meal, someone to talk to, a shoulder to cry on, it was at that kitchen table. And it's at that kitchen table where I learned that your worth and value isn't determined by the amount of money in your bank account, but by how you serve your community. So I'm asking you to elect me so I can serve my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Got it. All right, and our next candidate is Judge Kurt Kissinger.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. First of all, I do want to thank the Bar Association and League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity. It's rare that we really do have are able to talk about our court and the jobs that we do, because I say nobody, when I'm talking to people, so few know who the judges are, let alone know what we do. So giving citizens the opportunity to do this is phenomenal. So I'm 58 years of age. I was born and raised in Cincinnati. I was born in Pleasant Ridge. My dad was a Cincinnati police officer. I graduated from Anderson High School. I went to UC for undergrad and Dayton for law school. I am married. My wife, Karen. I have 2 daughters and 3 step adults because they're not children. And I have a grandson who unfortunately lives in California, so we don't get to see him often enough. Professionally, I was licensed to practice here in Ohio in 1990. I was a Hamilton County prosecutor from 1990 to 95, similar to Judges Greenberg and Bouchard. I prosecuted in the juvenile division, municipal division, common pleas division, prosecuting all types of felony, criminal, and misdemeanor offenses. I was also assigned to the Ohio Organized Crime Commission. It was a task force created by the Ohio Attorney General, prosecuting organized criminal cases, primarily out of their Dayton task force office. It was a joint collaboration of DEA, FBI, local agencies, and we prosecuted numerous cases here in Hamilton County that the agency brought down. So I was assigned to do that in 1994 and 95. After that, I went into private practice, and I was an attorney at the firm of Rendigs, Fry, Kyling, and Dennis. It's one of the oldest firms in Cincinnati. We did litigation. I did litigation work primarily on the defense side. And then I was also doing mostly wrongful death, product liability, personal injury type of on the defense side of litigation. I then also started to do kind of more and more criminal defense work. By the time I left Rendigs, I was doing roughly half criminal, half civil. I then became the court administrator of our Hamilton County Juvenile Court from 2011 to 2015. Was then appointed to the bench in 2015, successfully ran for election in 15 and again in 17. I'm also an adjunct instructor at the University of Cincinnati at their Blue Ash campus, teaching criminal justice. I'm also currently the presiding and administrative judge of the court. I was unanimously elected to that position by my colleagues. I also am one of the judges. Me and Judge Bill Mallory are judges on the specialized docket, mental health court docket, which I'd love the opportunity to talk a little bit more in some detail. I'm also on the committee, Ohio Judicial Conference Committee, the Criminal Law and Traffic, and also the Court Administration Committee. I love this job. It's an extremely important job that we do because we can touch upon every individual in our community to make a difference. Thank you.
Moving along to Judge Dante Johnson.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Dante Johnson, Judge of Hamilton County Municipal Court, Voting District 2, which is mostly the northern part of the city of Cincinnati, which is Bond Hill, College Hill, North Avondale, Northside, Kennedy Heights, Pleasant Ridge. I've got Mount Airy, a little bit of Westwood, Spring Grove Village. I also have Elmwood Village and Village of St. Bernard, City of St. Bernard, and some of Columbia Township. I'm from Cincinnati. I grew up in the West End in Avondale. I'm a Cincinnati Public School graduate, graduate of Howard University, and graduate of the University of Cincinnati College of Law. I was elected to the municipal court bench 2 years ago to an unexpired term, which had 2 years remaining. I'm in the final year of that term, and I'm now seeking a full 6-year term. I practiced law for approximately 11 years before running for judge. I started my career off as a public defender, first in municipal court, then in the common pleas court. And after several years at that position, I transitioned to the housing authority, where I served as assistant general counsel for 3 years. And then I went into private practice for myself, where I did mostly criminal defense work in state and federal court. And I also did some plaintiffs litigation and probate law. My priorities in this seat is to ensure equal access to justice for every victim of a crime, every person accused of a crime, and every civil litigant that comes into my courtroom seeking relief. Additionally, number one of my priorities is to eliminate obstacles to success, to make it easier for people to get through the process, get through the system, and come out better. That's our obligation, to help people that come before us. We're in the people's court. Most people's first interaction with the court system is municipal court. So it's an honor and a privilege to be there. And another thing that I pride myself on trying to do is making court more efficient, keeping the docket moving, not wasting time for the prosecutors, the attorneys, or the citizens that appear in my courtroom. I thank you all for allowing me to be here today and talk a little bit about myself, and hopefully John has some good questions fired up for us so we can talk a little bit more. So thank you.
Thanks. Moving on to Judge Janaea Trotter-Bratton.
Good evening. I again am Janaea Trotter-Bratton. I represent District 1, which is includes the West End, Mount Auburn, Pendleton, Over the Rhine, Cuff, Walnut Hills, Evanston, Avondale, Villages of Roll Hill, East Westwood. I've been practicing for 14 years. I started my career as a prosecutor with the city of Cincinnati. I then practiced criminal defense and general civil litigation in opening my own practice. I have practiced in the area right before taking the bench in civil rights litigation, and I've been an adjunct professor at the UC College of Law, teaching civil rights litigation. The reason why I chose to run for municipal court, and I, like Judge Johnson, ran on an unexpired term in 2019. So I've been in the seat almost 4 years now, but am now running for a full term. And I wanted to run for municipal court because it is really the court that makes a difference and touches the most people. It is not the glamorous court that you may see on television, but it is the court that most people are most likely to come in contact with, whether it is a small civil dispute or a traffic ticket. And so the judges are very important to ensuring justice and fairness and access and all of those things that my colleague have talked about that make a functioning good justice system. And so I'm happy to be here today to answer questions, and I look forward to the forum.
Thank you. You know, I don't think that Judge Bouchard, you may have described your district. What do you cover? What?
Oh, yeah, Green Township. Nobody knows the west side.
I know the west side.
Okay.
I've been lost a few times. I know the west side.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Green Township, Colerain Township, and Cheviot are the three areas that I represent.
All right.
Yeah.
Judge Greenberg, District 5. What did you name yours? I could. Okay.
There's 13.
13.
So
All right.
if you're
Well,
testing
we
me,
don't want to test you in front of the audience.
Okay, it's Blue Ash, Montgomery, Deer Park, Reading, Sycamore Township, Sims Township, Loveland, Indian Hill, Blue Ash, Sharonville, Reading, Springdale, Glendale, Evendale. Hopefully I'm at 13.
Good enough. All right. And
Park.
Terrace Park. All right. Now this is an interesting night because there's only one contested race, and that's District 4. So I don't want to seem unbalanced and ask either of you to name, you know, what townships and what part of Cincinnati you represent. But Who wants to take a shot at it? Okay,
Of Anderson Township, Mount Lookout, Marymount, Norwood, Newtown, Fairfax, Columbia, Tusculum. It runs along, kind of along Eastern Avenue, along the river. So it picks up part of the East End. It, I mentioned Hyde Park, Mount Lookout, Oakley. And then it also comes up and picks up Mount Adams and then comes downtown. And actually we're in the district right now. So it's everything south of Central Parkway, east of Plum Street. I think that covers it.
Okay.
So southeast Hamilton County.
do you agree with him? Okay.
Yes, the Riverside too. The way I think about it is it starts in the Central Business District and follows Columbia Parkway East all the way out to Anderson.
All right. Well, since you have the microphone, Ms. Silverstein, as I pointed out, the only contested seat is the seat that you and Judge Kissinger are battling for in District 4. So why don't you tell us what you want to bring to the court?
Sure. So a vote for me is a vote for change, and we need to modernize our court. We need to modernize our technology. We need to modernize our dockets so that we're serving people better. I mentioned this in my opening statement, but we really do need better specialty dockets. We need a domestic violence docket. Domestic violence docket is really important because of those early interventions that give people the strength to leave those relationships and allow our service providers in Hamilton County to serve more people, because right now they have to go to 14 different courtrooms. And when I need their services in my current role, oftentimes they have to say, no, I'm in too many courtrooms already that day. But I also bring my experience as a public defender, a legal aid lawyer, and as a person who's dedicated my career to justice and serving people who are the most vulnerable people in our community. I went to law school and became a public defender because of a Brian Stevenson quote, which, although it's quite cheesy, I still think about it often. And it's that the opposite of poverty isn't wealth, it's justice. And I will bring new ideas and a judicial philosophy of accessibility to the courtroom so that people can access justice.
Thank you. Judge Kissinger, what have you brought to the court since you've been on the bench?
Wow. It's a great question. I have brought 32 years of experience, that as a prosecutor, as a lifelong Hamilton County resident, as a litigation attorney. So I've been on both sides of the defense side. I've been on both sides of the civil side of practice. There's very few areas of law that I have not been a part of throughout my time as an attorney. And so I bring that experience first and foremost to the bench. And as far as some of the concepts, again, as the administrative and presiding judge, it's a great responsibility, but it's where you really see how the court operates and how the court is capable of making change in the things that we're able to do and not able to do. I am one of our specialized docket judges, mental health court. Mental health court is a combination of, we have community partners, including Greater Cincinnati Behavioral Health. We have representatives from Talbot House, representative from the Public Defender's Office, a prosecutor, a assigned probation officer, and a coordinator from the court clinic. And we bring individuals into the program who have serious mental illness, and the mental illness is a kind of precipitating reason why they're committing the crime. And so we bring wraparound services. They're on probation for roughly a year. They come and appear before me every 3 weeks. And we really see great change. So you ask what I bring to the court. I think I bring my experience, my ability to relate to people, my sense of fairness and justice. I really value, I truly value public safety, but the way I look at it is I want to be the kind of judge that I would want to be in front of if, as Judge Bouchard indicated, it's the kind of court that any of us could be there. And so I want to be that kind of judge that would want to be in front of. And I think I bring that respect. I give litigants their day in court. I think that people they may walk out of my courtroom and maybe not be thrilled with the result, but I think ultimately they respect the voice that I allowed them to have in the court. I made sure that if they wanted to be represented, they had the opportunity to be represented, that when they walked out of there, they understood what occurred. And again, although they may not like it, that they felt like they had a full and fair hearing. So I really think it's those qualities, my personality that I bring to the court, but more importantly, bring to the people who come before the court. Thank you.
And since it's like my show, here's a question for you. The DV docket that,
Was mentioned?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are numerous types of specialized dockets. Some are more popular within our court, and all specialized dockets are controlled by the Ohio Supreme Court. So you have to become specialized through the Ohio Supreme Court. There are a few courts that do have a DV docket, some that have an OVI or a DUI docket. Quite a few courts do have mental health courts. We have a change court. So specialized dockets, basically you have to get the permission of the Supreme Court. We have considered doing this. We've talked about it, but basically because judges don't want to relinquish, we're all separately elected officials, and to relinquish all your cases on a special particular issue, we've discussed it. And I think generally as a court, we have not gone that direction.
so specifically how do you feel about DV court?
Again, for the same,
Got
yeah, I'm opposed to it. I think that we as judges, individual judges, had that discretion with each case that comes in front of us to make those decisions that need to be made to protect the victim, to give the treatment to the defendant, or whatever the appropriate penalty is. But I think, because again, we all have that ability and that skill set to deal with those cases, that that's the way we've decided to handle that going forward. Same way with the consideration of an OVI court. We can all handle those cases, and we're all elected by the public to handle those cases, not one individual judge.
All right, thank you. Judge Johnson, same question.
Okay.
But for you, it's a little different because I realize you haven't been around as long as some of the folks here.
22 months.
So
Counting.
we're going to have a combo of, what you have brought to the court so far and what you want to bring. So,
Okay.
all right.
Excellent question. So far, I've brought my perspective to municipal court, my personal and professional experiences. As I indicated in my introduction, I started my career basically at the public defender's office. I think the last judge that was elected to municipal court that started the public defender's office may have been Judge Nadine Allen in the late 80s. So my perspective is different from someone who started their career in a different way. I fight to ensure that, everyone has equal access to justice is very important to me. There is no trial tax in my room. I don't rush through cases. I give people enough time to get the evidence that they need, get the discovery, get their witnesses lined up, and have any motions that they want to hear. But at the same time, I don't allow the cases to drag out, because there are cases where people are victims of a crime, and we need to have those cases called before the court sooner rather than later to prevent, witness fatigue of people just not showing up to court. Another thing I've done is I've kept the 9 o'clock and 11 a.m. Dockets, which gives people some flexibility on when they need to arrive in court if they have, issues. If it's a person that has to take their children to school in the morning, they don't have to be there at 9. They can set their case at 11 o'clock. And I've also have experienced criminal as well as civil, especially municipal court civil. At the Housing Authority, I was in charge of the eviction docket, and I also handled our small claims issues. So there aren't very many issues that come before me in municipal court that I haven't seen already. So, the lawyers can't try to fool me and tell me this is how it's going. This is why it's taking so long. It's like, no, I've done this type of work. It shouldn't take that long. This is what we need to do to keep this rolling and keep this going. And my hope for of municipal court is to continue to improve our technology, to continue to add and create new programs to help the people that are coming before us. Because like I said in my introduction, it's the people's court. People are constantly in and out of municipal court. And my hope is to have the people that come before me come out better on the other end. So hopefully I was able to answer your question. I just got a 30 seconds.
All right. Judge Trotter, same question.
So what I've brought to the court is what I wanted to bring. My perspective, I was a prosecutor, defense attorney, and civil rights litigator. I think I've covered kind of the basis of the cases that would come in front of me. And I think that perspective is important to have a court, not only in the courtroom, but across all the judges, so that there's conversation between the judges, idea sharing, and learning from one another. I, like Judge Johnson, also have a 9 and 11 a.m. docket. Right now, I co-convene Change Court, which is one of the specialty dockets that was mentioned by Judge Kissinger. And it is our human trafficking docket. I will take that over officially January 3rd. And then I've also created a special docket, which is one of the things that I am very, very proud of, is I've created a social services docket. It is primarily only available in my courtroom, but there's a grant from BI3 to All In Cincinnati, and I have community health workers that come in my courtroom twice a week. And those individuals, when someone is convicted, they're put on probation for a year. The term of their probation is to create a plan, and the plan is tailored to what their issue is. So if it's housing, if it's a parenting issue, if it's addiction, they are connected with the person who specializes in that within the community health workers. And at the end of the year or before that, we've had some success stories before that, those individuals have self-sufficiency. The social services docket that I call it is not an official court docket, but it's my docket, has a lot of success. And I'm very proud of it. And I think that it's for low risk offenders with problems that we can solve, which are a lot of cases that come through municipal court when you are dealing with poverty and addiction and offenses that flow from those two things. So I'm very proud of that and proud of what I bring to the court.
Judge Bouchard, I ask you similar question, and will apply to Judge Greenberg as well, since you two have probably, I'm going to say, have the longer I didn't say old. What have you brought to the court? But more importantly, since you've been there, what have you kind of taken away from the court, trying to, change it somewhat? Why don't you share that with us?
Yeah, John, I think, you bring to the court the values that your parents taught you. I mean, that's how I feel about it, kind of follow the footsteps of my parents. They're both doctors, and like me, I think helping people every day. And my mom is from Lebanon, Middle East, and there was this Arabic word called haram. And, I kind of think about it every day in court. I don't know the exact translation, but it's like, I feel sorry for this person. They didn't have, the value and upbringing that I did. I'm going to help them out. For example, she, call me and say, oh, blah, 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 can't pay their copay. Haram, I think I'm just gonna see them anyways. And I'm like, yeah, why are you calling me again? But you know, she's gonna do it anyways. But that's how she approached, you know, the community in general. And, you know, that's how I do. And, you know, I mean, I feel sorry for some of these people and I'm, you know, trying to help them. We have Talbot House, inpatient treatment. Every person I've sent there, when they come back, they say, thank you. And I've had people come in my courtroom and I'm like, Mr. Blah, 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 what can we do for you? It's like, oh, Judge, I just wanted to come and tell you I'm a year sober and you're the only person that believed in me. And I really appreciate that. And the Talbot House did a great job and et cetera. So, I mean, you know, what a great job it is when you have people come in, you know, out of their day, come down and tell you that. So that's how I approach this, you know, and, you know, the court's gotten better. We have more treatment options, which is fantastic. And, you know, so I think my parents taught me to follow the rules and be compassionate. And that's what I bring to the court. And, it's just good, clean fun, as I say. So thanks.
So part of that, have you, since your tenure on the bench, is there something you observed in the court that you felt that needed to be changed and that you've sought to do that, or the way things are working, you're happy with it? Explain that to us. I mean,
Yeah,
if you have an opinion about it. So.
Yeah, you know, the one thing is efficiency. You know, League of Women Voters asked a question about, you said, you know, they had some people come and sit in municipal court and thought it was hectic or whatnot, you know, and I call it controlled chaos. You know, it's when you have 50 people coming in, you know, what people don't understand is their lawyers need to talk to the prosecutors, you know, and to work out a plea arrangement and whatnot. So it's going to take time. It's not like, you know, you know, it's bang, bang, bang. Some cases, you know, they're not there. So capias, boom, it's over. Other cases, there's a lot of back and forth, you know. So we're trying to keep the police officers in mind as well, because when they work third shift, they're coming to court, you know, and then if it lasts 3-4 hours, then they don't get to go home and sleep. They go back out on work. So that's why I try and have everything at 9, so we can get the officers in and out of there so they can get back to sleep. But, you know, for as many people, I mean, we see hundreds of thousands of people a year, you know, and I mean, I think it flows pretty good for that, you know, for that. So, you know, I'm the head of the technology committee, and we've looked at changing the entries to electronic, but tell you, we just have so, you know, for one person like today had 15 pieces of paper. And one thing I learned in juvenile court, we had electronic entries. You just start looking at your computer, clicking what's going to happen. Oops, I'm going over. What's going to happen? And you lose the human interaction. And number one, these people need to think they got a fair shake. So if you lose the human interaction, you're just staring at a computer, it's not good. So we just kind of stay with the way things have been going, and we'll just see what the future brings, but that's how I feel about it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I went over.
That's all right. Judge Greenberg?
I agree with Judge Bouchard that I think what you initially bring to the court is the values that you're raised with by your parents. I was fortunate to have good parents who both were professionals and hopefully, I think, raised me with good values and a comfortable upbringing. But you have to remember that not everybody that you deal with is so fortunate to have that type of upbringing and have all those comforts that I was raised with, or you know, that some of us have been raised with. A lot of people they don't have two parents, or they don't have They don't always know where their next meal is coming from. They don't have stable housing. And we deal with a lot of people like that, not surprisingly. And you have to kind of learn about that, all those challenges that people deal with that are in front of you, and not so easy for some people to pay $100 fine in court costs as it would be for other people. So I think I've learned a lot being a judge about how other people struggle when they they have certain challenges and that I didn't have growing up. But I really value the opportunity to help people turn their life around, especially in Veterans Court, which I know I've mentioned that before, but the veterans have, I'll put a plug in for just specialized courts in general, because what you do is it allows the judge to develop a specialty of knowledge of what these particular people, the problems that they have. So whether it's Veterans Court or Change Court or Mental Health Court, veterans, for example, have a lot of sleep issues, causes them to not sleep at night because, maybe they have a lot of flashbacks, maybe it's post-traumatic stress disorder. And then when you're not sleeping at night, you're irritable all day, you can have a short fuse and end up being in court. So when you have more of an understanding of these issues, I think that it's helpful in helping to get these people the proper resources. We are often encouraging these people to go to these sleep clinics that the VA offers. And everybody on our team, the prosecutor, the public defender, the probation officer, pretrial, they also have been in Veterans Court for a long time. So they too developed the specialized knowledge that helps them in Veterans Court. So I think hopefully that answers the question.
Let's, I these debates, there's no right or wrong answer. People just, we're just, that's what, yeah, right. We just want, the voting public to get a feel for who we are. That's all. In that light, so Judge Trotter, what types of crimes are coming through the system most frequently, and how do you deal with those crimes?
Most frequent, I would say, are disorderly conduct, OVIs, domestic violence / assault, driving without a license. I would say those are the most of the cases, I would say, are predominantly those. I deal with them really on the person, because everything is tailored to the individual. Some people have resources, some people don't. So that may change what you do if you're going to fill the gap to provide those resources. But in OVIs, I look at, is this a one-off of someone's behavior, or is this a pattern? Do we need to address addiction, or was this bad decision-making? Same with a disorderly conduct, domestic violence. A lot of times individuals are not ready to leave a situation. And so you have to be cognizant of that when you are dealing with a case. And so I don't think there is anything cookie cutter about municipal court. The people that we see and that are in front of us are just so very different. But as far as types of cases, that is. But for me, I deal with the cases, one, respecting people, respecting their individuality, and trying to find a solution so that they are not coming back.
Thank you. Judge Kissinger, same question.
So as far as what we're seeing, my answer is D, all the above. It's funny, as you were kind of commenting, I'm thinking, yeah, there are those. And so what you just covered is kind of like that cross section of the traffic, the violence, the alcohol. I mean, so many of the offenses that and the reason why good people or typically law abiding individuals find themselves in municipal court is because typically of alcohol, a poor set of judgment and anger issues, something that kind of blew up into a situation that typically is out of character for them. And it's being able to identify those individuals and again, dispensing a sentence that addresses that. But what we do see a lot of, I mean, a lot of theft, but a lot of the theft that we see are motivated by drug addiction. So most of what we see, I think everybody will agree that it's theft, it's disorderly conduct, but it's all kind of the underlying reason is because of drug use, severe alcohol abuse. So it's getting to the core issue that's causing that criminal conduct. But again, I think so as far as the type of crimes we're seeing, mostly it's all crimes that are generated to people kind of feeding or fueling their habit.
Yeah. Candidate Silverstein?
Oh, I have a two-part answer to this question. And the first part is we don't actually know the most prevalent type of case that comes before municipal court because we don't keep the data. And we don't keep the data because of our outdated system of technology. And I've been in meeting after meeting with court administration, with the clerk's office, with different stakeholders about that issue, that we can't find data-driven policies because we don't know what is the most common charge before municipal court judges. But the second part to my answer is, well, and to wrap that part up, we need to have that data so that we can make sure that we are solving these problems with data-driven methods. We know that things like a social work docket, adding social workers to the public defender's office reduces recidivism. We added social workers to the public defender's office in the last year. And of the people who went through our social work division, their likeliness to reoffend was cut in half. The average recidivism rate in Hamilton County is 60%, and people who went through that division were reoffending at rates in the 30s. So if we had that data, we could really reassess and look at the things we're doing in our municipal court and do better. Second, in that the court watch report that the League of Women Voters and Mark did, that I was lucky to participate in on the front end, they talked about the chaos in the courthouse, but in the overloaded dockets, but they also brought up the amount of traffic violations and traffic cases on the docket. And something that we need to look at as a court is, what can we do to get people licensed so that they stop coming back with those cases? What can we do to reduce the fees and the penalties so they can become licensed and insured drivers so that those cases don't clog our docket, so we have more time for cases that have victims and are more serious offenses?
Thank you. Judge Pritchard, same question. What types of crimes are you seeing the most of, and how do you deal with them?
Yeah. Theft, OVI, domestic violence. I'd say those are the big three. And you know, it's funny, like the OVIs, they've changed over the years. You know, it was crack. It's always been alcohol. Then the drug ones, you know, crack, and then heroin. And I think, you know, that's kind of gone away. I mean, because I, you know, used to get so many cases where people passed out, you know, behind the wheel completely and things like that. But, you know, and now it's on to marijuana. So it's just funny, like over the years, how like the drugs have changed that we, you know, we've seen come through the court. But, you know, theft cases, go back to what my mom said, you know, you got some, you know, you feel sorry for these people, but yet you have to follow the rules, and the law is the law. And why, you know, you have to think about the public policy. If you steal from Walmart, it is a problem because they're losing money. They're in a business to make money, so they have to charge more for the products because they're losing profit by, you know, things being stolen. So you have to look at the whole big picture in all these cases. This is life. Municipal court, you're really dealing with life, life problems. So, and as Sammy said, just today had a social worker, and it's fantastic what they do. I mean, because this lady who's homeless, that they found a home for her. I forget what it's called. But they're picking her up tomorrow and taking her there. And there's all kinds of services, whatever she needs, whether it be mental health, drug addiction, just normal life skills, she's going to get it. So, so it's great. So like I said, we just have so many services, and it's great because we can send these people through there, and as Judge Trotter Bratton said, everybody in this room could have gotten an OBI at some point in their life. So you can't forget that. So you have to remember, is it a one-off or is it a pattern? And then the one thing I was thinking while I was talking is, over the years, what I've learned about addiction. Some people have that gene, and I've seen it because I ask, do you have a history of addiction in your family? And 95% they'll say yes. And so, we have to send them to treatment to address that. And, what I tell them is it's all or nothing. If alcohol touches your lips, it's over. Just some people are wired that way. And just learning that over the years, talking to people, probation officers, and everybody figuring that out. And so use that knowledge to help people and assess who needs what level of help and sending them that way. So that's how I approach everyday life in municipal court.
Thank you.
I keep going over. This is not like me.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to change questions for you, Judge Greenberg.
Okay.
All right. We do our CBA judicial candidates poll every year, well, every election year. And we cover 6 categories. The categories are administrative diligence, communication skills, community engagement, integrity, impartiality, objectivity. That's all one line there. Legal experience, and professionalism / temperament. So why don't you tell us where you score yourself in the highest category?
Well, I'd rather answer that by saying how the attorneys that practice before me score me, because I think that's
that's good if it's your show, but I'm asking you.
I think it's a more valid way of determining of looking at it is how the attorneys practice that are in front of you score you, and I scored well, I think, in all those categories. I'll let people can go to the Cincinnati Bar Association website if they want to, and see how the judges did in the judicial candidates did in the different categories. But if you're asking me like how you think
You wake up in the morning.
I think it depends on the day, really. Judges are human, and I was telling the guys in vet court recently that they did a study in Louisiana several years ago about how the sentences that the judges imposed on the Monday after LSU lost in football versus the sentences when they won. And they usually win. LSU is good program. So when they didn't do well, they lost, the judges were actually giving out harsher sentences to the people that were before them. And they were able to tell this. And so that tells you judges are human, and you have to kind of be aware of things, your own strengths and weaknesses. One thing that I'm always careful to do is take a lunch break, because I know that if I don't take a lunch break from 12 to 1, that I'll get a little hangry, and I don't want to be hangry when I'm hearing a case, sentencing somebody, whatever. So, you have to, as a judge, understand your strengths and weaknesses so that you can at least try to be as good as you can each day.
Judge Johnson,
Yes, sir.
of those categories that I just highlighted, where do you place yourself?
Well, I reviewed the poll and I was satisfied with where I was rated by the attorneys that have practiced in front of me and that I've interacted with throughout my career. And all of those categories are extremely important. So if I had to pick one, I would say it's my professional temperament. I am the same at all times. I don't get too high or get too low. Try to be on the same wavelength the whole time, because that creates an atmosphere in the courtroom. It's not chaotic in my courtroom. It is calm. We get through each case individually. Everybody has their day in court, and I give people the opportunity to have their say and have their day in court. If I'm having a good day or having a bad day, no one will ever know, because I keep my temperament at the same level at all times. And if I notice myself getting frustrated or getting upset, I'll just take a break and take a deep breath, use the restroom, and come back out. I won't just keep going through it. If I find myself getting upset with a case, I'll take a break so I can come back to the next case. So the person who's in front of me now doesn't get any of the shrapnel from the person who appeared in front of me before. So professional temperament.
So if you just give me 30 seconds here.
Yes, sir.
If you had to pick one of those categories that you felt that you needed to improve upon, which one would you pick?
So that's like asking Superman, hey man, what's your weakness?
Listen, well, we got no kryptonite here, but I'm just
What's your
saying.
No. So hypothetically, I'm pretty new on the job. I've got 22 months in. I've practiced for 11 years. Being an advocate and being a judge is different. So the main thing I'm working on is just trying to get better at the job each and every day. But I hope I'm doing a good job, and I hope that people think I'm doing a good job.
Well, Superman would be proud of that answer. That's a good answer. All right. Judge Kissinger. Everyone's gonna get a chance at the old.
So I'm going to kind of a little backhanded approach at this, because what I think the most fundamental, the most important thing is being a judge is creating a judicial system that builds confidence in the judicial system. So what is it? What are those characteristics that most build and support that confidence in our judicial system? We all, as judge, I've tried over roughly 57 jury trials, and we have jurors fill out questionnaires. And part of the questionnaires is, do you think you'd be a good juror? Now, some people answer it trying to get out of jury service. I get that. But so many more and more people say, oh, I think the justice system is broken. It's not working. It's not fair for, and so you see an increasing lack of confidence in the judicial system. So I look at those traits: experience, impartiality, administrative experience, all those things that I think are key to building that confidence in our judicial system. So I think I excel at those qualities and bring that to the court system. If you say, which one do I think maybe the one that was on there was community engagement. And as judges, sometimes it's kind of difficult because you're somewhat limited in what you can do and what you can say. Although I am an adjunct instructor and have been one for 10 years at University of Cincinnati Blue Ash, I do other things. I volunteer for other things, but that score I was lower on, which actually kind of surprised me. But to that point, I think I could improve upon that, because the more I think judges get out in the community, and the Supreme Court has really encouraged judges to get in the community. Because again, I said before, we don't know who our judges are. So being more engaged in the community I think it's an area that I could always improve on.
Candidate, excuse me, candidate Silverstein.
I agree with most of what's been said up here about it, but I agree too that it's important that people feel as though they receive justice when they come before our municipal court judges. And so I think the most important category is the integrity, impartiality, objectivity category. And I was happy with my scores in that category. And I also think that community engagement is very important because, as we've all said, our municipal court is the people's court. It's the court that the hard problems in our community are solved. And what an advocate, what a prosecutor, what a defense lawyer in an eviction case, what a plaintiff's lawyer in an eviction case, all those lawyers that come before the municipal court judges looks for in their judge is justice and a fair shake. And part of receiving justice in a fair shake and delivering justice in a fair shake is knowing what your community's values are. And you have to be engaged with your community to understand those values. And I'm proud that I did score very high in community engagement in all of the community work that I've done. And I think it's also why I was nominated to run for this seat.
Judge Strutter.
I'm pretty happy, like everyone else said, with their scores. I probably need to take a lunch and a restroom break sometime. So thank you very much. I learned from my colleagues. But I think the fairness aspect of it is, I'm sorry, is it my weakness or the strongest?
Well, see, you know, y'all just felt that this was your all courtroom, so it just took over completely the question, but it's
So
cool.
what I want.
No, you're good though. The question originally was, what do you think is your strongest category? What do you think? Not what the people think. What do you think? And then the second part was, what do you think you need to work on? That's all. But the question obviously has turned a little bit to the poll, so I'm not going to hold you to that.
Okay.
So go with what everybody else did.
So I think fairness is one of the strongest, and I think very important, because perception is reality. And how people perceive the justice system is how they respect it as well. And when I say respect it, I'm in not just respect judges and respect the process, but respect the law as a whole. So that is one of my, I think when people come in, whether you plea out or whether you have a 10-hour trial, whatever the end result was going to be at the plea is going to be the end result at the 10-hour trial, unless I learned like some really new good facts during that 10-hour trial that I wouldn't get in a plea. But I really respect people's right to have their day in court. So I do think that is one of my strongest. I think my weakest, and I'll say that, is administrative diligence. Even though I've been on the job for 4 years, I still struggle with the balance of keeping cases moving and getting them quickly off your docket, but also giving enough time that a case can be prepared and fairly heard. And that is a delicate balance, because the decision to give a continuance or not is up to the judge. And so I'll own that. And sometimes I have really, really big dockets because I've given continuances. So that's something that I am continuously working on.
Okay.
But I'm good at everything, I think.
Okay. All right, Judge Bouchard.
Okay. You know, I think my strongest suit is integrity, impartiality, and objectivity. You know, the reason why you put on a robe to go up there is to remind you every day when you go up on the bench is that, you know, you are to apply the facts to the law to every single person you see the same. And, you know, I mean, like going back to my mom, that's the way I was raised. You know, we're looking at her 1966 medical school graduation picture in Beirut, Lebanon, and she's the only woman in there. And she was the first woman to graduate from that medical school. You know, first woman dermatologist in this area. So she was a trailblazer, you know, and, you know, I just grew up that, you know, everybody's the same, you know, whether it's male, female, color, whatever, it doesn't, it, you know, that's just the way I was brought up. And that's what you know, what I think I bring to the bench, is, you know, you just, you know, you know, we got a lot of cases, you just got to reset every time and, you know, be objective. And I was looking at that and, you know, I'm like, oh, what do I do to the community? Well, I don't know. I referee football for little kids on Saturdays and, you know, varsity, you know, on Friday nights. Been doing that for 28 years. So, you know, well, we get paid a little bit. I think it's a community, you know, helping the community. Somehow I found 2 jobs where whatever answer you give, half the people are going to be mad at you. So, so, you know, I mean, that's, you know, that's the nature of our business. So, you know, you got to do what you think is right and move on. And hopefully everybody else does too. So thanks.
All right, so one of our questions was going to be about your community involvement, and I think Judge Bernard just spoke to his, which is coaching football. I mean, sorry, refereeing football, officiating at sounds like to me various levels, which, like you said, you know, $10 UDF cupcake. That's about what you get, right?
Like a White Castle.
Like a White Castle. Anybody else want to share what they do in the community? Judge Greenberg.
I just completed my 3rd term as a board member of my temple, Isaac M. Wise Temple. So it's 6 years on the board there, and I've been on the board of a couple other organizations as well, the American Jewish Committee and Jewish Community Relations Council. I'm also still on the Social Action Committee with my temple. We do different social action projects around the city. I'm a member of the Fraternal Order of Eagles in Loveland. We do they do raise a lot of money for charity. So my wife and I didn't mention that I've been married 29 years,
Well,
almost 30.
way to
And,
pull
we-
yourself out of it, buddy, because time's almost up. So good thing.
We you know, we do things together. Really, we enjoyed doing some volunteer projects together. We did something for the crayons, use crayons to computers. Did that a couple weeks ago through our temple. So and we enjoyed doing things like that.
Has any of your community involvement shaped your views on the bench at all?
Good question. I'd have to give that.
I got some good questions. I know. I got some good questions.
I'd have to, you know, take a lunch break. Yeah. Think about that. But you know, I just think in general, the more you're exposed to new people, people different than you, it all, I think, affects your worldview. And I think, especially, you know, when you're if you're helping, you know, we volunteered ran a program for the Talbert House, their fatherhood picnic down at Sawyer Point. I ran that program, recruited volunteers to do that, and you see again that just people that have a lot less than you, and it's a reminder of how fortunate you are and how not everyone has that fortune. So I think it does impact your view.
Same question to Judge Johnson.
The thing I'm most passionate about is helping young people, students in high school, elementary school, in law school, and young attorneys. I serve as a mentor and a motivational speaker. I've spoken at 10 Cincinnati public schools. So far, since I've graduated high school, I always went back to my high school and spoke. And I've gone to many different ones. I was just at Taft a couple weeks ago, and I was at Euler a few weeks before that. Just letting young people see me, hear my story, hear my background, and be inspired, hopefully, by me and by what I've done, particularly for young Black kids that are from the inner city, just like me. I can tell them, this is how I grew up. I know some of the struggles you're going through, but there's nothing that can stop you from being who you want to be in life. And it's not just telling somebody you can be whatever you want to be. It's proving to them you can be whatever you want to be. So that's what I'm most passionate about. And that was way before I became a judge. And if I never became a judge, I would still be doing that and still be passionate about that. So, thank you.
Judge Trotter?
This would be the only time I cross the CBA in my judgeship because we do not do that. But I am the president of this very fine organization. And I'm also the president of the Chase Alumni Council, my law school. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And through our organization, we are very active in volunteerism. So it's not necessarily one thing that is every week, but there are different programs, and I actively engage. Also, similar to Judge Johnson, community education, I get called upon a lot to speak or to be on the panel, and I always make myself available. I think that my perspective is important, and I think that people seeing judges as people is important. So I always try to heed the call when someone asks.
Candidate Silverstein.
Thank you. I started a community advisory board at the Hamilton County Public Defender's Office that has allowed me to connect with a lot of different organizations in our community, including the library, which actually provides a lot of services to our homeless population, and with Caracal, which is a harm reduction organization. We have representatives from local businesses on that board who care about the community and what's happening in over the Rhine, and as our community changes and grows. I also have started an initiative at the through my work at the Public Defender's Office. I'm a first-generation law student, and it's my goal to recruit different people, improve diversity in the legal profession. And so I've started a mock trial program at high schools in Cincinnati, at the public schools that don't otherwise have a mock trial program, because law school is one of those things you have to start thinking about really early on. And if you don't have someone in your life who's gone to law school, then you need to, you're less likely to know how to do it or to be inspired to do it. And I found that young people really like mock trial, and it makes them want to be trial lawyers. I actually did a mock trial last week. I spoke to a Girl Scout troop, and we did a mock trial of who stole the Girl Scout cookies. And I was getting texts from moms for days that their kids kept asking if I could come back and they could play more mock trial. I also have started volunteering at Saturday Hoops, which is one of my favorite local organizations. When I was in law school in Chicago, I worked with youth on the south side of Chicago, and we had an initiative where we actually, a couple Bulls players, Joakim Noah, got in trouble because he wasn't supposed to participate, but he did. And we played basketball. We organized basketball games at midnight, and rival gangs would play basketball against each other. And it was, when those basketball games were occurring, it was the only month in Chicago that summer that there was no gun violence. And so Saturday Hoops, when I found out about that happening here in Cincinnati, I started to get involved with that. And that's a great organization. I encourage you all to look it up and consider participating. But yeah, so I think that community work is really important because, you know, the municipal court is the community's court. And I do hope to give back to my community and continue. I do give back to my community and hope to continue to do that as a municipal court judge.
Thank you. Judge Kissinger.
So it seems like, John, you can probably relate with this was with kids. It seems like so much of the volunteer activities that we participate in are all kind of driven by your kids, whether it's volunteering for this organization, being a member of the Ursuline Dads Club, St. Mary Parish, the working church festivals, doing all the activities and participating in all the volunteer events. I chaired the ski club for the kids. We went out once a week to Perfect North Slope. So all those kind of things we're doing that organizations involving and circling around my kids. What I really find though is in the question involved the impact that it has and what I learned from my experience. And there was a point in time when I was a court administrator, juvenile court. I participated on multiple boards involving mental health services, youth type services, and getting involved and getting in touch with those organizations and learning such a tremendous amount from those individuals. But the one thing I kind of notice a lot is teaching, and I do that. So it's every Thursday night. I teach the spring and fall semester. And what I learn is that when I'm explaining concepts of the criminal justice system to these students, and I'm getting blank looks on their face, and they're educated. They come from, you know, a good family. And so if I am not, if I'm having this issue with these college educated students, how is this parlaying to individuals who have no experience or in front of me on the bench? And so making sure that I can explain to them. So again, when they know what's going on when they're in the courtroom. And also the thing is, I'm a first generation college. No one in my family went to college before I did, let alone law school. And I learned a lot about asking questions. And so when I communicate and meet with people in the community, and especially young students in various school activities and speaking opportunities, it's about how to engage and ask the questions that need to be asked, because the resources are there. And because when I was a junior at UC, I had no idea. I was a pre-law major, and somebody said, you know, well, Kurt, that's great, but what's your major? I said, well, pre-law. So no, pre-law is not a major, it's an area of concentration. So again, I wasn't asking the questions at the time. So that's the one thing I really impart to young students, especially, is in getting their education, how important it is, but to make sure that you understand the resources are there and to take advantage of them.
So I'm going to ask every candidate to talk about how they deal with bias. First off, if anyone says, I don't have any biases, I want you to leave the room, because we're way past that. We all have biases. I have biases. So now that we've established the ground rules, right? So Judge Trotter, tell me, how do you deal with biases that you may have or biases that may be in your courtroom?
I address them head on. So as you said, we all have biases. The thing that makes the difference is if we recognize them and adjust our behavior so that we do the best that we can to eliminate it in our decision making. And so I try to, again, be aware of a bias that I may have. It could be as simple as not thinking somebody understands something and they can tell me more of the law than I can tell them. Something as small as that to as you look at somebody who has a long record and you're like, oh, okay, they might not be able to get it together. And so then you go back to, okay, what are they in front of you? What are they saying? What plan do they have in place to change their behavior? And then you make the decision from there, whether or not you believe them or what have you. But I think the best way is to address it head on, to recognize it, acknowledge it, and then do your best to either educate yourself so that you zero out that particular bias.
Judge Bouchard.
Yeah, John, I think, like I was saying earlier, we put on the robe, and I I just take it seriously that, every 6 years when you get sworn in, you take an oath. And, I really take it seriously. And I try and look at it kind of scientifically a little bit where, these are the facts. This is the law. It doesn't matter who you are or what happened. I mean, you want the same result, because there's nothing worse than, if somebody did the exact same thing and somebody gets this sentence and somebody else gets this sentence. So, I'm very cognizant of, this is, this is the facts. This is the law. This is my sentence, and it's going to be the same no matter what. Now, people that are underprivileged, oftentimes, I will, if they were in jail for a day, I'll just commit them 1 day, credit 1 day, no fine, cost remit. So that's just a time served situation. Because, these people don't have money and they did a day in jail, and we're just going to call it even. Is that fair to where people have money, they might do a day in jail and a fine and court costs? I don't know, but that's just life. We're dealing with life, and we're trying to make everything fair. We're trying to help these people move forward. So, somebody who can't work for some reason has all these legal fines and court costs, it's going to hamstring them and not let them, be able to move forward. So, like I was saying, like it's life, and just trying to look at the big picture. Like Judge Trotter Bratton says, recognize what they are and try and snuff them out from the beginning, before there's an actual flame. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Judge Greenberg.
I think I have a bias against defendants that have a lot of tattoos on their faces. If I see someone with a lot of tattoos on their face, and right away I'm thinking, this guy's a troublemaker. And so you have to just kind of be aware that that's a bias that you have, and then maybe take some more time to slow down and maybe talk to that person and try to determine, is he a troublemaker, or is he just a guy with a lot of tattoos on his face? Don't judge a book by the cover. Right. But so I think you just have to you got to slow down when you're dealing with a bias that you may have, so you're not rushing to judgment based on that bias.
Thank you. Candidate Sorsad.
Yeah, I think the slowing down is really important. In my role as a law professor, I do a lot of teaching about investigations and how we know what we know and why we know it and where the information comes from. And I think that's the key to bias, is to slowing down, recognizing it, and then trying to assess what's actually fact and what's opinion and what you actually know and how you know it. And something that I hope to do if elected is to keep data and to check myself and to make sure that I give fair sentences that aren't outliers and aren't outliers in my own courtroom, but also in the state of Ohio and in Hamilton County and in the rest of the justice system. I think that's a really important thing that everyone could do to make sure that we are checking our own bias.
Judge Kissinger.
And it's great. I mean, the fact that this question is posed and we have this conversation, I think is fundamental. And it's a conversation we continually need to have. And I think as a judge, it needs to be that constant reminder. And I do. I mean, there are times I think about it and I'll have a defendant who I'll impose a sentence and I may give that person a break. And the next person up, maybe a little different situation, but if it's pretty close, I'm going, I just gave that person a break. I should probably do the same thing. So I agree. It is recognizing it, being aware of it, and doing everything you can do to be, again, fair and impartial to everyone who comes in front of you. Something I do, and I don't know if judges do this, and I only do it just kind of as a testing myself. And when it comes, we set bonds. So one of the most important decisions we make as judge, when we're duty judge, we set bonds in courtroom A. And we get a lot of information, and the defendant's brought out from the jail holding area. And we have a lot of paperwork that gives some background. It gives what we call an ORAS score. And sometimes what I've done is I don't look up. So I don't make eye contact with the individual. And I try to think about setting a bond based upon the information that's being given, based upon what the attorney's telling me, and based upon what the prosecutor's indicating. And then thinking, and then because that's just kind of a check to me. Now, I will always look at the defendant because I don't think it's appropriate to Judge Bouchard said, like the concern about getting too computer driven is you take away that personal contact with individuals. And I want them to see me. I want them to be face to face and look at them so they know that I'm taking their case seriously when I impose that bond. But again, just kind of serves as a continuing reminder that we need to be, to the extent possible, because again, bias does exist, recognizing it and being in front of it.
Thank you.
I did not answer that question. If you were ready to ask me that.
Well, I have a bias against you, so.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, we all have biases because we're all human beings, whether that's in favor of a group or an issue or anything that you can think of. Being consistent is very important, and being open-minded is very important as well. And when I took the bench, I was deliberate in the way in which I set up my courtroom. So my secretary bailiff is a Black woman, and I asked for a specific security bailiff, which is a white woman, and my clerk is an openly gay man. So we all are very different. We all have different perspectives, but I like to have groups around me like that, people that I can talk to, that can talk to me, that keep me humble, and we all work together. I let them, or I discuss cases with them and different things after the fact. I don't let them make decisions for me. I don't want you to believe that's the case at all. But I think it's important to be around diverse people and have diverse people in your circle that you can talk to and that can talk to you as well. So I think that's one of the main ways that I try to handle that.
And I'm looking at our time, and since you have the microphone, I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds to close out.
Well, again, Judge Dante Johnson, I'm running for a re-election to Hamilton County Municipal Court. I'm unopposed in my race, but I don't take your vote for granted. I don't take your support for granted. And I'm hoping that you continue to support me and vote for me and follow what I'm doing. You can come down and watch it anytime. I'm endorsed by the Hamilton County Democratic Party, as well as AFL-CIO Cincinnati, AFSCME, and the Teachers Union, Cincinnati Federation of Teachers. So that's a group that believes in me. If you know any of those people, ask about me. And if they're lawyers that you're interacting with, ask them, how do you feel about Judge Johnson? Anything Judge Johnson is doing? And also review that survey, that poll. I'm proud of that poll, so you can check that out as well. Thank you.
Sure.
So I also want to thank everyone for this opportunity, and I am also asking for support for reelection to the 4th District. I've got 32 years of experience in all capacities of the court, in all areas of litigation. So I have a tremendous amount of experience, and I think I'm a very good judge. And I would almost invite you to ask anyone who's been in front of me, every attorney who's ever appeared in front of me, every attorney I've ever had litigation cases with, or clients I've represented. I think that my reputation is outstanding, and I want to continue to bring that outstanding reputation to the court. I'm also believe strongly in public safety, and for those reasons, I'm endorsed by the Greater Cincinnati Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 69, as well as the Cincinnati firefighters. Thank you.
Judge Strotter.
I'll echo everyone and thank you all for taking the time to get to know your judges. District 1, please remember, District 1, I also am not opposed, but I do think it is important that regardless of whether you have an opponent or not, that you show up. There was one more thing that I wanted to say. Well, I will just say, come to my courtroom. I think that the best way to get to know someone is to actually see them in action, and come on different days, because as has been said throughout, that you're not the same every day, because we're human beings. And if you really want to gauge who someone is, see them at different times. But the courthouse is open. It's your courthouse. It's the community's courthouse. We are your judges. So hold us to that standard.
Candidate Silverstein.
I hope to have your support on November 7th. And just one final reminder that a vote for me is a vote for smart justice for a safer Hamilton County. And I say that because if we're smart about the decisions we make and the way we use our resources, we know how to reduce recidivism, repeat offenses, and we know to do that through social work services, through specialty dockets, and that will make us all safer. Also, we need judges who inspire people to do better, to make better decisions. And I have a track record of inspiring law students and new lawyers to do better and be better. To wrap up, I am endorsed by Planned Parenthood, the CFT, AFL-CIO, AFSCME, Equality Ohio, the Ironworkers Union, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone, which is going to make me feel very guilty later, because I'm very proud of all of my endorsements. So thank you.
Judge Greenberg.
Yeah, thank you for to the CBA for putting this on, and John for running the show here tonight. And thank you for everyone that's watching. It is important to know your judges, to try to know a little bit about them and their values. I've been a lawyer for 30 years, a judge for 17 years. I've always had good judicial ratings. I'm unopposed this year, but still would appreciate your support if you live in District 5. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. I'm pretty much everything the same as Brad, except I got lower ratings, but well, you know how that goes. You know how that goes. But this was great. I enjoyed this. We don't get to talk about our jobs very much, and I think you could tell everybody, how much we like them. By just the tone and the way we answer the questions. And, I think I'm a good judge because, I don't think I know everything. I learned some things here tonight that I'm going to use next week on the bench. So, so this was good. And I appreciate it. I've been a lawyer a long time and a judge a long time. And I enjoy it. And I'm trying to help people, and I'm trying to help this community where I live and my kids live and we all live a better place. And I'm very lucky to have a job where I can actually make a difference. All right, thank you.
Well, I will say that I appreciate everyone's honesty tonight. That's what I felt. Everyone gave honest, direct answers, and that's what the people want to hear. I think I'm not sure. Lisa handed me 6 well thought out questions, and we had more questions too that we don't have time to get to. But the Cincinnati Bar Association is going to call upon you folks, once this is all over, to do something similar to this for the community, because these are community questions. People want to know what your style is, how are you going to fund this? What are judicial ethics all about? So at some point in the next year, the Bar Association is going to organize an event similar to this. There's no, there's no election. It's just you talking to the people. We're going to invite all the municipal judges because, like everyone said, that's really the people's court. That's what most people are concerned about. I'm sure 1 or 2 people may not know what OVI necessarily is, but I even have to go back and recess operating vehicle impaired, right? I believe that's what it is, right? And some people may not know what a trial tax is, but I got a pretty good feeling I know what that one is. So, again, we thank you all for being with us tonight, and we wish you all good luck. But we're going to be calling on you again in about 6-7 months, so we hope you answer. Thanks. Have a good night.